What's up, everyone? Welcome back. This is Capitalism the Remix. We got a great show for you today. Talking to David Jaimes, the CEO and co-founder of Finio Pay, calling us from Mexico City. David is a Conscious Venture Lab alum. He's a Conscious Venture Partners portfolio company and doing some amazing things in Mexico City. We get a long-ranging conversation about the status of fintech in Latin America, how things are, how Mexico and Mexico City is viewing the United States at the moment. It's going to be a really interesting and intriguing conversation. So welcome back to the Remix. David, how are you, my friend?
All good, Jeff.
It's good to see you.
Yes, long time, long time.
I know.
Wanted to, yes,
I heard that you said that you wish you had more of you.
yes. I
Things are
want to,
busy, huh?
yes, things are busy, good problems, good news, but I want to multiply myself, man. I want to multiply myself ASAP.
Yeah, I understand how you feel. I wish I had another one of me. I was just thinking if I had another one of me, I would not be here with you. I'd be out on a boat somewhere.
Okay, that's probably in the near future. Maybe you can send Jeff AI avatar to all the meetings, thinking like you, answering like you.
We need to build that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's coming. It's coming. In the past few 2 weeks, AI has made big leaps.
really.
Yes,
All right.
Gemini, Google, Agent Space, AI agents, nah, it with the new protocols. So I think probably in the near future you're going to see a Jeff Cherry AI avatar.
Well, I can't wait for that. There's a lot of people who probably don't want to see that, but we'll cross that bridge and get to it. Look, we could probably go down that path for a long time, but before we do, David, thank you for joining. David is the CEO of Finio Pay, based in Mexico City. We're going to talk about how we met and what's happening with the business now. But to get started, David, tell us a little bit about you, your entrepreneurship journey, your background, how you became an entrepreneur. I think that would be really interesting for us to start with.
Yes, yes, yes. First of all, thank you for the time, energy, and for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it. So yeah, my journey began more than a decade ago. I started as a trainee to be a future VP on one of the biggest banks in Colombia. So I literally had to understand from the ground how a bank works. So I started learning every type of financial product from checking, savings, credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, SME loans, risk collections. I really understood how to make a bank. And that's why I understood the different kinds of services that the bank can't provide to the demand. So I decided to build my first fintech. I
Well,
built a
before we go there, I want to talk about that. But before we go there, I mean, do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Is this something you always wanted to do? This business of entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Um, so tell me a little bit about that.
okay. My near family, uh, my mom and dad aren't entrepreneurs. But my grandpa is one of the biggest entrepreneurs in my whole family. He had he had a lot of college and schools in Colombia, so he was a big entrepreneur in the education space in
Yep.
Colombia, helping thousands and thousands of kids in their elementary school preparation. So my grandpa was the one that gave me this inception of new ideas to help the world, to really give yourself a service and to help everyone. with your ideas, with your work, with your innovation. So that's the first time I was in touch of someone successful being an entrepreneur.
And so your family is from Colombia?
Yes, yes, yes. My
Where?
family is from Colombia.
Yeah,
I'm the only one from Bogota.
Bogota.
My mom and dad are from two different parts of Colombia. One is from Santander, that it's like a town on the up in the north of Colombia, and my mom is from Cali, where
Oh,
the
okay.
salsa was born. So
Okay.
I'm a mix of different cultures. I'm the only one from Bogota, currently living in Mexico City.
And how did you end up in Mexico City?
It's a nice story because it's one of the things where you can see how the universe acts in miracle ways. My wife works at L'Oreal, and
Okay.
she got promoted to being the head of digital commerce and advocacy of L'Oreal for Latam, and the hub is in Mexico City. And one of my biggest dreams is to expand Finio Pay to Mexico City. So it worked perfectly.
Let's talk about, so go back to, you worked at the bank, you understood all the different banking products, and then you sort of came on this idea that there was something missing.
Exactly, exactly. I see I saw firsthand how the banks denied financial opportunities to people and businesses. I understand how the bank only checks the credit bureaus or papers, and in a cash economy, you're leaving behind millions of people. So that's what I decided to. This is not the way to make banking for everyone. So I decided to leave the bank and build my first fintech that was
Hmm.
called Financialo. And it was a loan marketplace in which every person or business could compare for personal loans, auto loans, and enterprise loans, small, medium business loans. So it was my first fintech. It was a great learning experience where we helped thousands of businesses and persons and people to choose which bank or fintech was the best for them. So it was a great experience in the fintech space. Then we launched in this same fintech several fintech as a service products like digital authentication, uh, where you take a photo of your ID and then you
Hmm.
have to make the liveness process and face match with your face. So were one of the first fintechs in the country to launch this service. Also for digital authentication, KYC, know your business, anti money laundering procedures. So it was great, a great experience to use for my dreams of building something for the people that need.
Yeah, I, it's a question that comes to mind for me. I wonder, what is it that drives you to sort of focus on those people in need, those people who are underbanked or outside of the banking ecosystem, if you will. I mean, lots of people in your position working in the bank probably saw the same thing, and then but they didn't decide that there was something that they were going to care about. So why is it something that you care about?
Okay, there was a breaking point, turning point for me
Yeah.
in the bank, uh, where I had to deny a lot of loans to businesses that were practically thriving in the ecosystem, in the community. They were good. They were known for the community, and I made the visits, and the bank just said no. Just said no. Okay. So the same business went to another bank and had the financial opportunity. So they, so I really understood why it was a broken system. The traditional institutions can't score the new types of businesses in emerging markets. So this needed to change from the inside, from the beginning of the scoring. That's why I was involved in my first fintech in a loan marketplace to compare which bank or fintech was the best for the person or the business. And in my second fintech, that is Finio Pay, I'm also in the path of changing and unlocking financial inclusion, but in a different kind of way, from the bottom, from the data, from the types of credit scores that we can make financial inclusion possible to everyone.
So talk about how you do that. Talk a little bit about what that means for you and how you do it.
Okay, so currently in Latin America, there are more than $448 billion in transactions and cash payments. And 90% of these B2B payments are still done with cash, coins, and manual reconciliations. So they are totally unbanked and offline. And there are over 20 million businesses like that in only Latam. And most of them are financially invisible. And we're changing that. We're changing one transaction at a time. And we crack the way to make this all happen. We have a proprietary algorithm to score cash based businesses in emerging markets. It's something that is going to is changing the way how a tiendita, changarrito, convenience store, mom and pop store,
Hmm.
traditional store can access credit. And just to be clear in the impact we're trying to make, this traditional channel move 70% of the CPG brands volume, but they don't have access to credit. That's the disconnect we're fixing. That's the that's the reality we're trying to change, and we found a way to make it happen. We score on trust, not paper. So with AI, we use the transactional payment behavior of consistency and CPG distributor validation, and we enable these invisible small businesses to have a new financial opportunity to buy inventory, sell inventory, and grow their business, making a win win situation for both parties. The CPG brands increase their sales, and the small business have the best financial opportunity to change their business future.
I'm interested, David, in understanding how it's going so far. Let's to get into that a little bit because something you just said really resonated with me. This idea of you score on trust and not on paper. You've probably heard me say this before that the reason that we gather all this paper, if a bank is gathering paper from you, they're not doing it. Now they're doing it by rote, but the reason that they're doing it is for one thing and one thing only. They just want to know if you're going to pay them back, if they can trust you to pay them back. But the problem is that we don't know how to measure trust, right? And I think that the fact that you're trying to say that we're measuring on trust, not on paper, is really sort of fascinating and definitely innovative. So how are things going? Tell us about where the business is. A little bit about you know How's it going right now and where you're at?
Great. So we're currently building the financial rails for Latin America's 20 million small merchants. And these merchants drive 60% of the consumer goods. They are locked out of credit, still rely on cash. So we build, we're building, we're creating a payment platform that unlocks embedded payments through CPG distributors, and we do it through WhatsApp, not an app. We're turning every day inventory deliveries into credit opportunities, and we're transforming trust into a financial identity. How does this works and how do you see this in the field? The alternative of payments with Finio Pay is done by a trust ecosystem because the same CPG distributor that visits the store of Doña Ana in Bogota or in Mexico City is the same person that offers this benefit. And the way that the corner shops are seeing this benefit is it's amazing. To give you some context, currently these small businesses have to go to loan sharks, to
Mm-hmm.
black market loans,
Yep.
and they charge 480% APR because the banking institutions can give them an opportunity. So we are changing that. We're changing that. So in terms of CPG distribution, we check the frequency, the volume, the rhythm, if they have new problems in terms of buying groceries. And we put all these data points to give them a aligned credit line at 0% interest to buy inventories.
Okay. So, and if you're giving a 0% interest, how do you guys make money?
Excellent question. And it's simple. We align with the value chain. When a shop uses Finio Pay to buy more, the CPG sells more. Our fee comes from what the uplift in transaction volume.
Ah, okay.
So we are not charging for that. We are monetizing growth, and everyone in the ecosystem is winning in this way.
Monetizing growth. I love that phrase, right? Monetizing growth. And this goes back to I want to talk about how we met, but the idea that in some ways this is a double-sided marketplace, and oftentimes what we see in a double-sided marketplace is the entrepreneur cares so much about the constituent that he or she is trying to support that they forget that in order to be sustainable, someone's got to pay for the things that happen in that marketplace. And the thing that I think is really elegant about what you've done at Finio Pay is that you've been able to sort of go to the CPG providers, right, the large, consumer product goods companies around the world, and say, look, I can help you increase your volume here. And if I help you increase your volume, will you pay me for it? And they're saying, yes, we will, if you can do that. And then you can go to the corner shops and say, I can make this more seamless for you, and you don't have to pay me for it. I'm just going to give you a better opportunity to build your business, right? And I think that really it's a way to think about the stakeholder model, right? From your perspective, from your business, how do you create a mutual exchange of value for the stakeholders in your ecosystem? So obviously, you're creating value for the corner stores because they're able to get more products and finance that products and not costing them a lot of money. You're creating value for the CPG organizations, and it's an exchange because since I can buy more as a corner store, the value of the CPG goes up. You're creating value for us, and full disclosure, Conscious Venture Partners is an investor, so you're creating value for us by creating that mutual exchange, and obviously you're going to figure out how to create value for your employees and for your community. So it's a really elegant example of the stakeholder model in action, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a great way to put it, Jeff. We are making a platform that is giving incentives to each stakeholder in on our flywheel. So Finio Pay's flywheel, it's in four basic steps. The CPG distributors onboard our shops via WhatsApp. That is the main communication channel in all emerging markets.
Yep.
So more retailers start buying with Finio Pay. Retailers use our 0% credit line to stock more SKUs, more products, more inventory, more supplies. So the CPG distributors get bigger. They get instant paid orders. Finio Pay captures rich repayment data, and we have this data for our AI models to improve
Mm-hmm.
with every transaction. So every credit loss, fall, funding cost drops, we have tailored to raise limits and lower fees. So with better terms, we can attract even more small businesses, more shops, and more CPG brands who fund our promos to sell more products. So it's a
Yeah.
gross merchandise volume and data snowball effect,
Yeah.
restarting the loop at a larger scale.
So it really does turn into a flywheel effect, which is really interesting and really elegant. Let's. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. You and I met when you joined the Conscious Venture Lab, not two cohorts ago, I think, right? Cohort 11.
Yes.
Cohort 11 of the Conscious Venture Lab. We were thrilled to have you. You came to the States and spent some time with us. We may have talked about this, but I'm not sure. But how did you find us, and what attracted you to apply to the Conscious Venture Lab?
Great. So the first touch point with Conscious Venture Lab was through a platform called F6S.
Yeah.
So I read all the description, and the business part of making conscious capitalism was the thing that drew my attention. Was the thing that light my brain. I say I need to talk with these guys. I need to talk with these guys because this is the future to make a sustainable, equitable ecosystem for everyone. This is the way. This is the future of capitalism. So after after I checked the description, I obviously wanted to learn more about the stakeholder theory. Uh, Actually, have my conscious capitalism book right here. I
Uh-huh.
have my business model canvas every time I have a meeting with an investor about my vision, what are the values of Finio Pay. All that basis, that foundations are thanks to Conscious Venture Lab. Without you guys, I couldn't have had the tools to make this the way it is growing right now.
And so So you found us through F6S, and we'll put the show notes, F6S link in the show notes. Um, and was it something about the way that the application was written that made you want to sort of apply, or tell me a little bit about that.
Exactly. When in the onboarding questions, when the question about the what types of SDG goals do you impact, that's where I really understood the kind of impact Finio Pay can make in the world. We, with just our solution, we impact in 5 SDGs, and it was the first time the team and I started exploring about the impact of financial inclusion in emerging markets. And you gave us the tool of making a solution at the same time of making benefit to all the stakeholders. So that's where I talked with my co-founder Emmanuel and said, okay, Emma, this is the kind of people and venture capitalists that I want to have inside of FinioPay.
That's awesome. Um, I'm gonna take another little detour here.
Yep.
Um, I'm sure that you've been hearing about in Mexico all of the things that are happening here in the U.S. With the politics and the way things are. And I sometimes I think people don't. If you've never sort of traveled around the world, you may not understand some of the things that are going on in other places. But you live in Mexico City. As you know, helped run an accelerator in Mexico City a couple of years ago, and I had never been before. And Mexico City is one of the most spectacular places I've ever been. It's, I'm a New Yorker, and as you know, I tell people all the time, I'm a New Yorker, so by definition, I hate every other city in the world. But Mexico City was just amazing and fascinating and huge. It's just amazing. I mean, many people don't know there are two multi-Michelin starred restaurants in Mexico City, Quintonil and Pujol, and three of the 50 best restaurants in the world in Mexico City. So, what is it that we in the U.S., what is it that we either get wrong or don't understand about Mexico City, and generally, you're from Colombia, so about what's happening in other parts of the world. What do you think that we miss?
Great question. Great question. So, Mexico City is a cosmopolitan city.
Yep.
It's one of the biggest in terms of territory and population. So, this is a mix of gastronomy, a mix of innovation, a mix of infrastructure, construction. It's a dynamic city, and it's perfect for innovation. For innovation.
Yep.
What USA doesn't understand about Mexico or emerging markets or Latam is that from our perspective, there are thousands and millions of new opportunities to innovate because we're an emerging market. United States is a developed market
Mm-hmm.
that has different kinds of problems, different kinds of pains, and the way of the go-to market is totally different. Here in emerging markets, you have to analyze the market from different perspectives in terms of adoption of technology. Why now? Because in terms of smartphones adoption, in terms of internet infrastructure, the market is ready for a revolution, for a new digital adoption. So we are in this step. So United States, it's a 10-year, probably in terms, 10 years, I think, in terms of innovation in fintech. So we're making right now the necessary changes to have a profitable future for our innovation and technology. So we can't have the same, we do not have the same types of pains as an American person. First, we have to solve financial inclusion, poverty, that the foods and groceries can go to every type of town. These types of pains are the ones that we need to address firstly so we can reach the new types of problems that United States and Americans have. So that's the main thing about the United States with the strategy of seizing or making a go-to market in emerging markets. Also, I think that a lot of people in the United States think of Latin America purely through risk, like
Mm-hmm.
volatility, informality, barriers. So what they miss is the resilience and scale of opportunity here. Latin America isn't an emerging market. It's I think it's a undervalued or an under unlocked one
Mm-hmm.
because it's a region where people have built businesses, corner shops, food stands, local supply chains, often without the infrastructure of the United States business that that sometimes you take for granted with credit, formal payments, digital systems.
Right.
So what Americans might not see is that the entrepreneurial spirit here is not new. It's daily survival. What's missing isn't ambitions, it's just tools.
Infrastructure. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think that that it's something that I certainly saw. I think me and the team saw when we got to Mexico City, and we should not have been surprised by it, even though we were, right? I went to the Tec de Monterrey to their, their student conference, and there was 2,000 students there, for a weekend conference on innovation and technology. And I was just sort of blown away by the level of, commitment. And, again, I shouldn't be because we talk about this all the time. One of the reasons that we're in existence because we believe that there are smart people everywhere. There's just not opportunity everywhere. And I think that it's, so even with with all of the things that we talk about things that are going on the border, I think that there's such a lack of deep understanding about what's going on in different parts of the world that if people could get around a little bit, I think things might change, right? Um, what do you think? What's the I guess the temperature? I mean, how are people feeling in Mexico City right now about what's going on in the United States? So you have any sense of that?
Yes, yes. And it's really tied to the tariffs
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's really tight because these kinds of tariffs are aligned with the cost of sodas, of soap, of rice, of fast moving consumer goods. So the volatility of changing 5%, it means the world to these small merchants.
Mm-hmm.
A raise of 10% in tariffs is probably the net revenue they are going to have with the product. So it's really, really tough. The news about the president of the United States changing the tariffs practically every day.
Right.
So this is sometimes this is where we think, how can we trust a partnership between Mexico and United States for the long term,
Yeah.
because you have to treat your allies as friends to grow together. That's one of the
Yeah.
mindsets
We we
of
can tell that
partnerships.
the president and the vice president have not read Terms of Endearment or Conscious Capitalism, because they're not thinking about how do we create a mutual exchange of value amongst our stakeholders, right? I mean, it's so. This is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot. We are so locked into this old story, us versus them. If you win, that means I lose. When you can just look out into the landscape and see how untrue that is, right? How false that narrative is. But right now, we are, because of the position that we play in the United States, we're actually running the entire global economy on a narrative that makes no sense. It makes no sense, because we know that the most successful organizations understand how to create a mutual exchange of value for all their stakeholders. This is the mindset, and it doesn't surprise me that Donald Trump has this mindset. It comes from that previous narrative that everything's about the shareholder, and everything's a trade-off, right? So it's all about trade-offs. If you win, that means I'm losing, so I'm going to try to make you lose. And even thinking about this idea of the tariffs, the tariffs are going to quote unquote bring manufacturing back to the United States. Well, first of all, that's not going to happen, right? And second of all, look at all the other unintended consequences that are happening around the world. And I can't believe that we have so many people who look at that and think, well, the tariffs on Mexico are not going to impact me. If 1,000 corner stores in Mexico City go out of business, that's not going to impact me. I mean, can't we see how short-sighted that is? So it's an amazing, in my mind, sort of case study in the way to do things wrong, as opposed to the way to really create value, and grow the pie, right? That's another one that, in that old narrative, in Donald Trump's head narrative, well, the shareholders versus everyone else. And if someone else gets a dollar, that means the shareholders are going to lose a dollar. But in the stakeholder narrative, how do we create a bigger pie for everyone, right?
Exactly. How can we make a world where everyone can benefit from each other? The thing is that it I don't think it's the right way to say it, but we are one human race. We are one human race. We are all living in one planet. We need to make this possible for everyone that lives in the same planet, because globalization in the future is going to be one nation, one human race. So that's the thing where I can't understand why is the need for Donald Trump to cause divisions, even if he knows that the hand of labor of Americans is so much expensive than China. So you're not going to bring factories to the United States. So you already know that. So I think in terms of division, it's only given bad relationship for the future for
Yeah.
United States as the number one country in the world.
Yeah, and we could go down this rabbit hole for a long time, because
Exactly.
I think the lack of deep and critical thought about any of this is just stunning. But I'm going to put that aside for right now, David, and say, look, we're thrilled to be a partner with you, thrilled to be an investor in Finio Pay. I'm thrilled to have you as a friend. I can't wait to get back to Mexico City sometime soon and get out and enjoy some of that amazing food and entertainment there. and we can't wait to see Finio continue to grow. We hope you'll be able to come back to the States and visit with some of our portfolio companies and some of the companies coming out of the Conscious Venture Lab sometime soon.
Yes, please, that would be great. Your advice is so valuable to us from the first time we meet from until today. Every thought, word, phrase that you have given to us was from love, from the best benefit for Finio Pay to build a better world. So yes, that will be that's this year. You're coming this year to Mexico City.
I
That's the
think
plan.
so. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know when yet. We're talking to Tectamon today, so we'll see when that happens. But I'll keep you posted.
Perfect.
Now,
Perfect.
we can't end. We have one other question that we have to ask everyone before we end the program, and it's called the desert island discs question, meaning if you were stranded on a desert island and you can only bring with you 5 songs, 5 records, 5 CDs, which would they be? And they could be Spanish, it doesn't matter. You tell us what it is, and we're going to put it in the show. We're creating a whole playlist for Capitalism the Remix. So give us your 5 must-have pieces of music.
Okay, so I think I'm going to be a little international in my answer,
All right.
but
You might want to write these in the chat too at some point, so we make sure that Zay and I understand.
great, 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 great. So the first one that comes to mind, I think, is Bob Marley.
Okay. All right.
Bob Marley, I really love, really love.
Any specific Bob Marley?
Yes, Three Little Birds.
Okay. Well, we love that one.
Three Little Birds is one of
Okay.
the best ones from him. Probably the next one could be mm, Danny Ocean. Danny Ocean is a artist from Venezuela.
Uh huh.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Any specific Danny Ocean?
Danny Ocean. It could be Dembo. 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 Dembo is good.
Dembo. All right.
Dembo.
I got it. Dembo. All right.
Dembo. And the others one are J Balvin. I think he's the most known Colombian artist, more than
What's his,
probably
what's the name?
Shakira. J Balvin.
Okay. All right.
J Balvin, probably. And I want to go
That's
for
that's
American
4. We got one
artist.
more.
Yes, for American artist. And it could be mm, probably this is uh
I love
old Kanye West. Old Kanye
old
West.
Kanye West. Okay.
Old Kanye West.
Not the new Kanye. Not
Not
Yeezy. Yeah. Yeah.
no no. Old Kanye West.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, David, I should have. I should have given you a heads up on that. But we like to see where people go, sort of spontaneously on the desert island disc. So, thanks for joining us. This has been a fantastic conversation. Everyone, David Jaimes from Finio Pay, Mexico City, Conscious Venture Lab alumni, Conscious Venture Partners portfolio company. Fantastic discussion, and we can't wait to see you either in Mexico City or in the States. And for everybody out there, don't forget, download, like, send your friends, all that sort of stuff. Take care of each other. We love you, and we'll see you next time on Capitalism the Remix. Peace.